Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Board of Education and Business Committee meeting on Tuesday, January 27th. ISQL CM. We'd like to acknowledge that this meeting is taking place on the lands of the Hulkaman speaking people, specifically Palmerton Village. Board of Education is honored to be able to collaboratively walk beside the Couch and Malhat, Sabasset, Palol, Nellikets, Manus, Liaxon, and Liaxon peoples who have cared for this land for thousands of years. May we walk gently on the unceded territories of their lands as we work together to lift up all the Hahasmeda. There's been a change in the agenda. I'm going to take off 5.3 operational plan. I'm not going to do that tonight. So a motion to adopt the agenda, please. Trustee Schmidt, Trustee Souza, all in favor? Motion carried. Minutes of the November 25th, 2025 BEBC meeting. Board of Education and Business Committee adopts the minutes. November 25th, 2025 Board of Education and Business Committee. Trustees Lise, Trustee Strachan, all in favor? Motion carried. All right, delegations, school plans. Ecole Cobble Hill, welcome. Principal Ian Sibbett.
No applause? It's a tense room.
Usually let the kiddos start moving, sorry.
I know. In theater, it was shared with me that when you're on stage and you're competing, or if there's animals or children on stage, you have no chance.
Correct.
Right? They're going to steal the show.
Correct.
Just wait for more. Thank you. My name is Ian Zibin. I'm the principal at Ecole Cobble Hill. I've got a team with me here. I'd like to introduce them as we get set up for our presentation. We have our vice principal, Madeline Rochelot. You stand or wave. I'll just go in order. We have my friend Teague Wrightson, who's in grade 2 now at Ecole Cobble Hill. Right.
Hi, Teague.
Artemis Wilson Guy is a grade 1 student who is the daughter of Ashley Wilson, who's our grade 2 teacher here today to do a little presentation. So bonjour Artemis. As I mentioned, Ashley Wilson, our grade 2 teacher. Katrina Wrightson, who's going to do our territorial land acknowledgement in Hulkaminum. We have Jamie Wrightson, and Katrina, by the way, is in grade 7. Jamie is a twin to Teague, and he's in grade 2 as well. Bonjour, Jamie. And then we have Mom, and also a teacher at the school, Isla Cameron, a grade 1 teacher at Ecole Cobble Hill. So, Katrina, if you're comfortable, you could just do it there in place if you wish, but we'd like you to stand up so we could hear you. Thank you.
Good day, my respected friends. Before we start, I would like to acknowledge that we are gathered here on the traditional territory of the Hulkaminum speaking people, more specifically the Quetzal Nation.
Thank you, Katrina. Of course, every time I come here, the technology fails.
My apologies.
Oh, it really failed earlier today. No, it was in rough shape this afternoon.
Well, we just had it up a minute ago, so
Yeah,
that's why.
my apologies.
It's
We're
okay.
gonna-
It's not your fault.
We will be up and running in just 1 second.
As he's setting up, I'll just roll through this a little bit. If you're not familiar with the Ecole Cobble Hill is, Ecole Cobble Hill is a beautiful little community. As you journey to our facility or site, its address is Learning Way, so it's very fitting. Surrounded by beautiful forests that are accessible to our students. We have a population of approximately 352 students. We are a K-7 French immersion school, single track. The majority of our Indigenous population consists of not a very large percentage of Indigenous students, but we have 33%, I believe, of our population is Indigenous. Of all of those students, most significantly, about 9% identify as Métis as their background. And we have a large number of English language learners, which means that they speak another language at home. And what we find very it's intriguing, but the fact that Katrina did the land acknowledgement in Hulkaminum is that once you learn a second language, it's easier to pick up a number of different languages as well. Here we go. I see it, you see it, we all see it. All yours. Thank you. So here's our framework. We did the territorial land acknowledgement. I'm going to just break it down as far as our story, our learners, our stretches, our strengths, and a bit about our goals. As I mentioned, K-7 rule setting. This is a neat image taken at our Young Entrepreneurs Fair, and we do it in French. It's Les Jeunes Entrepreneurs. And one thing that I really find lovely about this school, and it's the community. We have a really strong sense of community, and that shows with our wonderful teachers, our staff, our parents, and everyone that attends the school. Okay, done that. So just a couple of highlights about our strengths. Some of the things that you'll hear within our site that kids say about our teachers. Our teachers are nice, and they do wonderful things and fun things in class. We have a beautiful forest, as I mentioned, that's adjacent to our school, so a lot of learning does take place outside. We have a number of clubs and extracurricular activities, robotics, math club, chess club, rainbow club, and a variety of sports. We want to offer a lot of programming to our students, so our teachers participate in a lot of clubs, and they do this throughout their own time, throughout our lunch recess time. So I really want to celebrate that, the work that our teachers do. And our school encourages us to show kindness and empathy. And we do that with our daily practice as far as within our announcements. It's embedded within our announcements. It's embedded within our messaging to students on a daily basis through our assemblies, a number of other different ways that we teach them compassion, kindness, and empathy. Our students have indicated that they feel safe at school and they feel welcome. This is based on student learning survey data from last year, and that our grade 4s and our grade 7s like our school, but that goes from grades kindergarten all the way to grade 7. These are just the cohorts that they chose to survey part of the learning data. Talking a little bit about inclusion and equity for as far as Cobble Hill goes. French immersion school, we really pride ourselves on learning a second language, but we also want to include the experience that everyone is welcome at École Cobble Hill. This is demonstrated through our supports through our neurodiverse students. It's also demonstrated through supports through our Rainbow or Lions clubs that are held at our school, and it's really a fun, it's a beautiful community that's well supported. Always got to talk about data. It's not the most interesting thing, but it is important to us because this guides us in what direction we need to do what's right for our children and our students at the school. So when we look at our stretches, we want to improve upon oral language at the school. So that's meaning that we're an immersion school and learning is very social in French immersion. So we want our students to be able to speak French at a high level of fluency and be in the proficient range. But in this sense, we would like to move more of the developing category into the proficient category across all grade levels, but more specifically through grades 3 through 7. Also, with regards to writing, it's important that we have an obligation to move our developing students into a more proficient range. We're pretty happy with the data, but we always think we can do better. What are we doing to support students? Madeline will talk a little bit to this as well, and I'll ask Ashley to do a little bit of a demonstration. But we really do a phenomenal job of promoting French culture within the school. We do this by celebrating Carnaval, which is one of the second largest carnival in North America in relation to Mardi Gras, and so it happens in Quebec at the start of February. Both us and École Malpropos do a Carnaval. It's just celebrating French culture through language, through tradition, through music, through food, and it's a lot of fun. We also bring in French presenters into the school. We have a peer tutoring program, and Ashley, if you could just talk a little bit about peer tutoring briefly to the audience about what that entails and how it all came about, because our strong focus in our school this year has been around literacy and supporting the learners, our priority learners that are struggling readers.
It came about with one student 2 years ago who just alphabet letters were not sticking, and so I had taught an older grade before, and I was quite connected to some older students, and I asked them to please work with her daily. And then it turned into all grade 2s, and now it's grade 1, grade 2, and grade 3, and some grade 4s. And it's about I want to say almost 140 students now participating 15 minutes Monday to Thursday, very first thing in the morning. And doing it this big is pretty new. It's just the second week, but Madeline's group's been doing it for longer, and I don't know if you have anything to add.
Yeah, it's been really awesome to see. So, the first 15 minutes of the day, our hallways are very active with lots of kids sitting together and reading together. What's been really cool about it is it started with, I think the initial interventions were like grade 3, grade 4s. And it started with identifying what were some of the phonemes and skills that these kiddos were lacking specifically, so that their peer tutors were trained in different activities that would target exactly what those kiddos need. And it's just grown from there. So now we've incorporated more younger students, and we actually have some of our stronger grade 3s and 4s being older peer tutors, as well as some being younger peer tutors. So we have this beautiful group that I would say in terms of kiddos receiving grade 1 to 4, and then kiddos offering tutoring 3 to 7 based on their skill set. But yeah, it's just been really lovely to see very animated first 15 minutes of the morning with very focused literacy. So it's been great. Yeah.
It's a wonderful vibe if you ever get a chance to visit our school, to see that our hallways are lined with children, older and younger, reading together in our pods as well. We're very fortunate to have a school that's similar to Maple Bay and Chemain. It's the exact same layout with Hats pods, so it's just a really beautiful vibe to see that they're taking a thirst and enjoying and engaging within their reading, and they're being supported by older students. We also have learning assistance intervention support. So the teachers were the ones that decided what priority learners would be placed into groups, and they have interventions 3 days a week. So it's very frequent. We mentioned the school-wide reading program, and just speaking French on a regular basis. So last year we had a competition within our school. We were keeping totals on the amount of minutes that kids spoke French throughout the day, and then incentives do work. I'm sorry, but they do. There were some pizza parties, but the kids really bought into it, and they were really interested to see the tallies on outside of all the classroom doors, and they wanted to go around to the school and compare how well they were doing to their peers. So it created this innocent but very productive innocent competition, and it just really spread throughout the school. It was a really wonderful experience and vibe. Ashley, I thought maybe you would be interested in doing a little lesson involving the students, and you want to come bring them to the front, and Isla's going to help, just so everyone can see. So people often wonder, how do I learn a second language? It's not as easy as just downloading Duolingo. So we wanted to give a brief demonstration on what it would look like in a grade 2 level. So I'm going to get out of the way because I am not important at this.
Okay, les amis, j'ai Monsieur Zibin. Regarde, j'ai Monsieur Zibin. Tournez, cachez vos yeux. Cachez, cachez, cachez. Oh, attends. J'ai caché Monsieur Zibin derrière un mot ou un son. Est-ce que vous voulez deviner? Qu'est-ce que tu penses? Est-ce que Monsieur Zibin est derrière un son ou un mot?
Est-ce que Monsieur Zibin est derrière le O?
Non. Est-ce que tu veux le deviner?
Non. Est-ce que Monsieur Zibin est derrière le mot A?
Oh non, il n'est pas derrière le mot et... Qu'est-ce que tu penses, Jamie?
Est-ce que Monsieur Zibin est derrière le mot
Le son ch, oui, ch. Non. Ok, maintenant je vais vous donner un indice. C'est pas un son, c'est un mot. C'est pas un son. Est-ce que tu veux deviner un mot?
Oui. Est-ce que Monsieur Zibin est derrière grand?
Grand? Non.
Est-ce que Monsieur Zibin est derrière le mot petit?
Petit? Non. Ok. Est-ce que Ashley va gagner ou est-ce que Jamie va gagner?
Est-ce que Monsieur Zibin est derrière je?
Quoi?
Je.
Tu as trouvé Monsieur
So Ashley, could you just explain some briefly in English what the activity and the purpose of was and what they're trying to do? Ashley?
Sure. They were looking for you behind letters and sounds. And And this is one of the warm-ups that we do sometimes, both where we do a literacy activity just to get some sounds in their heads or to get some heart words going. Yeah, so thank you.
FSA data. In 2024-2025, we are the first column in relation to the rest of the school district, and the yellow shows the amount of proficiency in grade 4 literacy as far as the standards. So you can look at that. We're very excited about this information, to be honest with you. Don't make it too glowy. And then with regards to grade 7s, similar trend. We look at our school data, second to last column, versus the district's data with regards to all learners in grade 7 literacy. Our goals: to improve French oral language and phonemic awareness in early primary students. Talk about tradition French immersion. It's really important and crucial as far as carrying on with tradition. So in the first 2 photos, we have the younger students, which we call a concours. It's a French oral speech competition. It's only usually for grades 5, 6s, and 7s, and they get an opportunity to compete versus École Mount Provost, and then those that are successful go on to represent our school district at the provincial level. But because we felt there was lacking in primaries, we wanted to bring it into the younger students as well as doing an oral speech competition, and it's gone really well, and we're going to be going into our 3rd year of that. And that's just a performance that's in French. To improve French oral language literacy and writing for all students, just feeling comfortable standing in front and speaking in front of their peers as well, and having the courage to do so and to do it well. And then what we're going to morph into next year is we have a 3rd goal, but we want to examine our numeracy data, because there's some numeracy data that we've collected this year as far as maybe shifting our goals to numeracy for the next year. So that's one of our goals moving into next year, is looking at that inventory data. Briefly, Madeline just wants to share what are some of the exciting things we're going to be doing as far as assessment and evaluation in order to have a baseline to know where we're going to next.
So one of the things that we often find in the French immersion world is as our knowledge around education is growing, things start to develop on the English side, and then usually we're catching up on the French immersion side. So as I'm sure people have seen in many schools, our knowledge around the science of reading has grown quite significantly over the past number of years. And with that, a number of wonderful resources have emerged on the English side, and fortunately on the French side, that's starting to emerge as well. So one of our focuses this year has been really diving deeper into some of the French programs that are starting to emerge, such as Sonograph. The Calgary Board of Education also has a great science of reading-based structured literacy program. Raconte-moi les sons, which some of Ashley's cards are images from those as well, are some great phonics programs that a number of our teachers are using. So one of the things we did at the start of the year was some primary teachers got together and developed a scope and sequence for the different sounds in French immersion, so that we can ensure that we're really giving our students the full range of phonemic sounds that they need in the early grades, so that they're heading into later grades more equipped in terms of their literacy. And we are also in the process of developing a variety of literacy bins that can be used both at École Cobble Hill and at École Mont Provost, so that students have more engaging activities, because we do end up making a lot of homemade things on the French immersion side. So we just thought, why not work together to create a bunch of resources available to our teachers for this? And also, as Ashley demonstrated, when students are engaging in work that is also more play-based, it also is a great opportunity to engage in French oral language speaking. So we're doing a lot of game-based materials together. And this is all kind of weaving together to support where we're going in terms of assessment and the literacy framework. So as I mentioned, because more resources are starting to be available, we're currently working on creating an additional appendix, I guess, for the literacy framework that consolidates a lot of these French immersion resources in literacy that are emerging, so that teachers can access them, so that it's easier to run a fulsome program, as well as aligning these with some of the new French immersion screeners, which we're exploring as well, looking at Acadians as another way to assess that as well. So yeah.
Thank you. Just to wrap up, we're always proud of our students in our community. We look forward to supporting their continued growth. We want them to be functionally bilingual and educated citizens of the world. Some of the things that we're going to consider as far as next step is to incorporate more student voice in our goal setting for our festival, provide real-world opportunities to practice and develop skills targeted in our festival, and incorporate the identity into the festival goals, but choose to build on vocabulary that is meaningful to our learners. Thank you.
Questions, trustees? Trustee Croft?
Can you tell me a little bit about your thoughts on incorporating identity into the festival?
Identity as far as who we are.
Yeah. So how does that look? Or, yeah, how does that look?
I think we just practice it daily about who we are and what we stand for as far as our values. The teachers do an amazing job of working with the kids, educating the kids. We have not specifically really a values-based program that's targeted towards behavior, because behavior at the schools really has been good for a long period of time. We just really celebrate the kids and what they do, and we celebrate what they learn, and then we hold them at the forefront. Kids do a lot of our assemblies, and you see that, and I think it inspires others to want to do better as well. So if we look at as far as that identity is just always, just engaging, looking at the child, the whole child, being empathetic, and our teachers model that on a daily basis. It's hard to explain in a nutshell. You have to feel it and see it and live it. Okay, thank you.
Quick comment to follow. You talked about students managing the assemblies, and I just sort of a polite compliment on the Christmas assembly, which one of the most complicated Christmas concerts I've ever seen. It was beautifully and flawlessly executed. So that commitment really shows.
Yeah, they all played their own instruments, and they sang, and that was really well done. And I attribute that to the work of our fine arts program teacher, both Cecily Dami and Rachel Woodruff. Yeah.
Really sure.
Thank you. And thank you for your email.
Trustee Strachan?
It's nice to see you.
Good to see you.
Great presentation. I know they miss you at Montprevost, but it sounds like you're doing great things at Cobble Hill. But I'm just curious, both from the literacy perspective and then also from a student population, with that French, the new all French school that's available here. Do you feel that your population's gone down a little bit? Are some of the kids moving on to all French? No?
No, in fact, it's the opposite. I could speak from specific examples where we had, when I was at École Montprevost, there were students that had left briefly to try Cascade, and then they came back, especially one in their final year for grade 7 because they wanted to be with their peers again. So not at all. In fact, our enrollment for kindergarten this year, we had 56 enrolled at École Cobble Hill, and Mount Prevost had 60 students enrolled. So we have a wait list, and our enrollment every year has just been very consistent. And so we're very pleased with that. And I think it's the integrity of the program. And I've had an opportunity of working in French immersion, I think, since I started teaching. And I was a French immersion student myself from a K to 12 in Port Alberni of all places. But yeah, just really excited about learning other languages, and just want to, hopefully that shines through my attitude and presentation and with our team as well.
So in the literacy bins, and are you doing any partnership with that school to share?
With the French school?
Yeah.
Primarily right now, we're just working with École Montprevost, like within district. Yeah.
Because they're also in a different school district. They're not the same school district as us.
There's not a lot of all French schools like that.
No,
So that might be a good opportunity
and
to.
that came from an interest when specifically where Mount Prevost had waiting lists at kindergarten, and parents were of French Canadian descent, that they wanted their children to be a part of something similar to French immersion, so they created that program. So it was generally from an interest, core interest group within our community.
I think it's a good option to have.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you.
Trustee Schmidt?
Thank you, Ian. It's always nice to see you. It's been a while, and Ian
We
taught.
each other on gravity cards.
Oh, that's right, we
Such a
did.
beautiful
Ian taught my girls, so we have a history. And Madeline, I'd just like to say thank you for your honesty about the realistic thing that we know about French immersion, and you guys having to be creative and building stuff for your kiddos, because I've noticed a big difference in your numbers from years past and how much they've risen. So whatever you're doing, is working really, really well.
Can I also share something exciting for you about Cobble Hill?
Absolutely.
Because of geographically where it was located, it became maybe potentially a challenge to have the attrition rate to continue at Quarmington School. Every year, we're getting more students coming into town to continue their adventure nurture learning.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice.
So we're really excited about that. It's easier for Provoke based on geography,
Yeah.
but it's coming.
Well, whatever you guys are doing is working, because it's really cool to see your numbers and where you're at, and so well done. And kiddos, this is a really full room today, and you guys are very young, and so thank you so much for being so brave to stand up in front of us and do a lesson with. That was pretty cool, and for some of us that don't speak your language, we really appreciate hearing you guys. So thank you very much for being brave and standing up in front of us. Now, my big question for you kiddos is though, is there something super cool that you would like to have at your school that you don't have? I'll ask that same question when we get to you. No, nothing? There's nothing that you would love to have that you don't have? Oh, there's one. Go ahead. It's okay. Maybe mom could tell. Maybe mom could tell us.
A new playground?
New playground.
I do not.
That was awesome.
Well done.
Thank you, kiddos.
You guys have to go. Thank you.
Okay, I have one question, before you go. With the older kids teaching the younger kids how to read and the literacy stuff, how does that help the older kids? And do you notice the difference?
Oh my goodness, it teaches them so much more empathy as far as how they interact within the school. And then the younger ones just look up to them when they see them on the playground. So there's a mix. I mean, there are times where the older kids are saying, okay, go play with so-and-so. But there's a buddy system there. There's a sense of community and belonging that it really enriches our school.
One other thing that I thought was neat about Ecole Cobble Hill when I went there is part of grade 7 is that all the students make a commitment to do a certain amount of hours of contribution to the school community, kind of like volunteer hours. And I think peer tutoring goes with that as well. So it's just one of the many opportunities for students to be leaders in the school and contribute to the school community. And I know, like, I have a few strong grade 3s in my class who had the opportunity to be peer tutors. I just started that recently, and they were just so excited to be able to be leaders and mentor little younger kids at the school. So I think it's pretty neat.
Great, thank you very much for coming.
I'm going to stay for the next presentation and then have students here for
Well, it's working now. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for coming.
Thanks for bringing it up.
Hey, Alex Aiken, Principal Chima, welcome.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you, everyone, for waiting so quietly. That was amazing. I'll introduce the students and the adults that they're with first, and then the students will join me up front. We have Ellie, who's in grade 1, and Piper, her sister, who is in grade 3. She's in a 3-4 class. Then we have Harrison Giles.
Hi, Harrison.
Parker Allen. And we have 2 kindergarten students with us, Everly Nowicki and Cashton MacArthur. And his mom, Trisha. And then we have Jocelyn. I'm sorry, I don't know your name. Jocelyn is Parker's mom. And then we have Jen and Tyler, who are Harrison's mom and dad. And then Christina Nowicki, who is also a teacher at Alex Aiken and Everly's mom. I have a few notes, want to make sure I don't miss anybody while we're up here.
Feels good to stretch.
Okay, Piper, here's your stuff there. You want to go see Parker, where are you? You have your stuff, so you won't need this. Harrison?
Right here.
You're going to talk about, you won't need it either because you're talking about. Okay. Okay, we're good. Thank you so much. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name's Saptish Chima, principal of Alex Aiken. And I gotta say, I was at Alex Aiken many, many years ago, so to come around again, it's been really exciting and to see the growth that the community has had. So I'm quite enjoying my year at Alex Aiken. Morris, which button? Oh, perfect, thank you. To start off with our school profile, we're a rural community, population of about 191, 9 divisions, strong collaborative PAC group, and we have a diverse population. We have single parents, parents that co-parent, 20 Indigenous students, and about 10 of them are with a Métis background. Our strengths, we have a strong sense of community, a small student population, which helps to create a sense of connectedness and really makes it personal. Everybody knows everyone. There's lots of families that attend Alex Aiken, well-established activities and school culture, positive community connections. And the students have something they'd like to share about some of the things they do at Big Recess time. Piper, would you like to start?
Me and my friends make gardens in the garden.
Thank you. Parker?
I like playing hide and seek with my friends.
Harrison?
I play miniature after school, and I play football.
Ellie?
Finding gems.
And finding gems. Apparently we have somebody that likes to put gems all around our playground, and the students really enjoy finding them. Catherine, what do you like to do at Big Recess time?
Go down the slide.
Go down the slides, yes. Everybody, do you have a favorite?
Go on the swing.
On the swing. Thank you. And our stretches, we're working really hard with our literacy fluency and also with our social emotional struggles, and that is trying to figure out how to solve problems instead of being physical. So how do we use our WIT strategies, like walking away? Can you help me? Walking away. I is for ignoring. T is for talk it out. And S is for seeking help. So we do a lot of practicing around that during our school day. And then, of course, our foundational math skills. We really need to work and try to figure out those basics. Our goals, so based on our stretches and our district strategic plan, our goals focus on the literacy, numeracy, and social emotional, including the self-regulation strategies, where pretty much we'd like to think of things of how does kindness help? What can you do? What can you do to help one another? Right? Kindness matters. And we have the fill your buckets, and every Friday we acknowledge all the kind things that have happened throughout the week. And I'm just going to stop there for a minute, and nope, I'm not going to keep going. Yeah. In this one, the data, so we collect various data from different pieces, our FSA, report cards, the literacy learning inventory, our social emotional learning data, and also our student learning survey. And we also take in the class reviews, because having the teachers tell us their story of who those kids are in their classes really helps us to plan forward. And then our weekly school-based team meetings of where the supports need to happen and who are those students, what's their story, and how do we help them along. So looking at the early learning inventory, so oral fluency is one of our goals. So the top data is the fall data, where we had a lot of red showing. So, working with our school-based team meeting and with learning assistants and all the other supports, looking at our winter data, we were able to improve the reading fluency. So that's our goal for by the end of grade 3. We want to have all those students reading proficiently. So this year we're looking really good. Really good. So we have a few things that the students would like to share in their literacy journey. Piper, would you like to start with, nope, it's Parker. Sorry, I'm the one who forgot the order. Parker, go ahead.
This?
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Parker. At the beginning of the year, I was not a great writer. Mrs. Nowicki showed me Tide, a literacy program. I began getting better at writing sentences, learning to use details, proper punctuations. I am now a very confident writer.
Thank you, Parker. So the TIDE strategy, Piper's going to tell us more about the TIDE strategy. Do you have it there with you, Parker? Okay, perfect.
Our teacher, Mrs. Nowicki, she was with the other teachers, and she found this really interesting about this TIDE. T stands for topic, sentence, I stands for important information, and D stands for details, and the E stands for ending sentence. We would write in these little boxes keywords like what All About Say was about the winter concert. We would write blah 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 the winter concert was. And we would write all about it and these keywords in the little boxes, and then we would put the keywords onto a different piece of paper into sentences. And yeah, and then we're working on one about the Indigenous people of Canadian Plains. We have put it on the TIDE, and we have made it into a draft, and then we're printing it on MS Word on our iPads. Then.
Thank you, Piper. TIDE strategies, it's a writing strategy that the students have started at Alex Aiken, and the teachers went to an in-service where they learned the strategy, and so it's really helped a lot of our students. And then we have Harrison, who's going to talk a little bit about the Lexia program that he's been involved with over the years.
Yeah. So Lexia is a program. It is done on an iPad or any device, and it helps kids with their writing, literacy, and reading. And so you go through different levels in Lexia, and so this is my first ever writing. It was only one sentence, and now I've done 2 pages with Lexia, so it really helped me.
Yeah, thank you. How do you feel about that?
I feel great.
Thank you. And then I have Ellie, who's in grade 1, who's going to share some of her home reading with us.
Tom is a man. Tom is not a fan. A fan is not a fan. Tom is on the mat. The fan is on the mat. Tom and the fan sit on the mat.
Thank you so much. Ellie, well done. So as you can tell, we're working really hard with our literacy programs. We have a lot of supports in place for the students, and they have double dips into it, the classroom instruction, and then plus the assistance with Lexia or with learning assistants or even buddies. Sense of belonging. We have daily morning messages encouraging social and emotional development and incorporating the language of the WITS program, building the kindness, and then we also have the Hulkaminam word of the week. Do you you guys are you going to count us in, Piper, for that? So the Hull Communum word of the week this week is winter. Do you remember?
3, 2, 1.
Tom height.
Top height. Thank you so much. Last week it was raining because we had so many rainy days. Do you remember last week? Simone?
Oh, yeah.
A little bit, yeah. So what we do is every couple of weeks, we will bring in the Hull Communum word of the week and try to build around the either a theme that we have going in the school or the weather, which is the easiest piece. Students participate in kindness lessons. Open Parachute is one of the pieces that we're looking at, and we offer various sports and leadership groups. The picture with the class there is they had just finished a kindness project, so they wanted a group shot, and then they made me promise I would include it in this presentation. Indigenous ways of knowing. We have our gardens that we are really excited about to share this spring. We've received a grant through the Climate Action Grant where we are working on putting in more local plants and having cue cards built in for Indigenous names of them. And then this past couple of months we've had Corinne Chow come and work with us. And we've had Lillian, who's come and worked with us for cedar, stories, and weaving. And then just over the last 2 days, we've had Lyle come in and share some stories, which is really nice. And that's it. The garden's on our next one. Yeah, community and other connections. So I'm going to start off with our gardening piece because that is something I know the kindergarten students really want to start talking about. But before I do, there was a parent who couldn't make it. She got called to jury duty, so but she wanted me to, her and her son Dominic had sat down and they brainstormed something that they would have said if they were here, so I'll read it out to you. We've planted garlic, potatoes, and a variety of flower bulbs, most of which were generously supplied by the kindergarten teacher. Students seeing science concepts that they're learning in class firsthand, such as plant life cycles and seasonal changes, is exciting. The students are always eager to get their hands dirty, ask thoughtful questions, problem solve, work together, and explore the space around them. Our time outdoors has always brought unexpected moments of discovery, from spotting countless bugs to even catching a baby gator snake. Who calls a baby gator snake? Not one of you guys, I hope. So, Everly, would you like to share something about the garden that you have? Okay. Cashton, would you like to say something about the garden? Do you like being in the garden? Have you planted some bulbs? Have you seen the bulbs come up? Thank you for sharing that. I know that took a lot of courage. Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for just being here.
Do you remember one of the plants that you were planting?
Do you remember what it was called?
Can you talk about that one?
They planted, what was it, a butterfly?
They were planting some butterfly flowers and then what's going to happen with them after?
Is it for the future butterflies that might come along into the garden?
And then we'll release them into the garden.
Oh, wow. That's exciting. Thank you. With that, we also have a lot of, I think we were just very fortunate this year to be part of a lot of community things that were happening. We had, Kathy came out with the Couch and Capitals, which was lots of fun. We also had someone come out from the hospital coordinator that was in charge of putting together a media release around the release of the new name of the hospital. So we've been practicing it as a whole school of what the name of the hospital was. Harper, do you remember? You can count us in.
3, 2, 1. Watson, Huntington, and
That's right. Thank you so much. And that was gifted by the Couchin Elders, which means Couchin Place of Giving Life. And it honors the land, the language, and the holistic healing. So there were, I think, think about 5 or 6 students that were part of a video release that went out to the community, and they had come and worked with the students. And then we also were, fortunately, a part of an art show where we got to pick the theme of the Lego show that happens every year. And so the team, our students chose Lego Legacy because it's timeless and it's found all over the world. So we've been very fortunate in being able to connect with our community. And the recycling program is another one. So we had a parent group that would help with the monthly recycling bottle drive, but that parent moved on. So I was like, oh, this is good. Now I get to do it all by myself. But even though her child is no longer there, she comes out once a month and helps the students that have volunteered to sort all the bottles. So we've been very grateful for that parent. Diversity, we of course celebrate all the different traditions that the students bring into our building, and we honor them on a bulletin board that's in our entryway. So if somebody is celebrating Diwali, we share information about it. If the whole school celebrates Thanksgiving, we take lots of pictures, put up artwork. The next one is our the Chinese New Year, so the Lunar New Year, so we're celebrating that. So lots of exciting adventures. So come celebrate our story with us. If you ever get a chance to come join us, we'd love to see you all. Thank you.
Trustees, Trustee Lisa.
Okay, I'm dying inside. What is something that your school needs? I've been waiting.
Yeah.
What is
I think Parker had it.
A skate park.
I'm gonna write that down. Love it.
Trustee Schmidt.
First of all, spending time on your playground with your kiddos. I've been doing it a lot over many, many years, and you have amazing, compassionate kiddos that are on the playground that are super respectful. And when I get feedback from my boys that I bring to you guys, that was the one thing that they did like to talk about was how polite and kind the kids are, how competitive they are, but respectfully. But thank you guys, for coming out and talking to us today and telling us your stories and helping us learn what you're learning so that we know what's happening in your schools. And it's okay to be shy, but thank you for standing there, because that's brave. So thanks for being with us today. I appreciate it. And thanks for answering that question, because I was dying to know when you piped up and stuff. Let's go. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I just want to say thank you for coming out and for being brave and for sharing all your thoughts and insights about the schools. It really helps trustees to know that special things are happening in the schools for special kids, and you're all super special.
Thank you so much.
Trustee Lisa.
I just have one more, and I like to take notes when I get to listen to you, but I would like to look to the parents in the room, because I could hear how proud you were of all of your learning, but how proud are the parents? Yeah, I bet.
You kids are really lucky to go to Alex Aiken, because it's a great little school. Being out there a little way from town, it's always great to be outside of that school. So thank you very much for your presentation, and come again. We really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So my question, trustee. I needed to know.
Much.
I needed to know. That was really important.
Very,
Those little babies over there. Just want to scoop them up. Now the rest of the meeting.
All the energy comes out of that.
Sorry, Mr. Sanquist, but those little babies that were just in front of us, come on.
Not as much fun as numbers.
No.
Yeah.
Last Tuesday lunch, start the day in kiddos, we get kiddos in every
Right, 5.4 EA bridge program.
Always hardest following the littles. So good afternoon, everyone. We're excited to share some information about a new initiative in the school district. Before I jump in, I would just like to acknowledge that there's been many folks and many voices involved in bringing this idea to life. And I just have so much gratitude for the folks that have come alongside us to put this work together. The concept of Bridge is to share that connecting individuals who have transferable skills, perhaps in other sectors or maybe from other countries, to education context to support student learning and well-being in our school district.
And I would like to provide a little bit of context and purpose from an HR lens. So like many districts, we do continue to struggle with EA absences. We have with vacancies and both daily absences. Our failure to fills are continuing to increase despite our best efforts and can affect the continuity and quality of student support. On top of that, our student support needs continue to grow in both complexity and demand. So from our HR team continues to recruit. We have many different methods of recruiting, whether it be job fairs, we support practicum students, various streams of marketing. Last year we worked alongside the teacher unions and CUPE to have a memorandum of understanding signed, which allowed our TTOCs who are not dispatched for work each day to accept EA dispatches. I will say when we go to job fairs and we do highlight that piece, it's all the brand new teachers are very, very excited about that opportunity to have that additional ability to accept dispatches. However, despite our recruitment efforts, there are a limited pool of qualified applicants. Our district does stick to our standard of qualifications, and there's a limited pool. So with that, our EA Bridge program, it's a 3-week program that we are looking to implement. And we would really like to thank Adam, who is not here, but he's been working alongside us for development of this program.
So inclusive learning, I just want to say that philosophically, that's our deep commitment to every student in our district. And practically, that takes a team in order for us to be able to do that work. And so we shared with the folks that we met with about the EA Bridge that they are part of that service and that support that starts at home with families as first teachers and families as advocates, and then the school system wrapping around students in order for them to be successful. And just that we recognize how important EAs are in the system. Our education assistants provide that connection and support alongside teachers and other staff in schools. So the concept of the EA Bridge, and other districts have done different programs to try to look at supporting this gap. So the intent is to look at what are the transferable skills that other people might have that may not have done an EA training specifically. And so examples of that might be someone might have gone into education, done their first couple of years of BEd, and then life got in the way and maybe they weren't able to finish, and they've been maybe supporting at home now, students maybe with diverse needs or doing work in community, and they have a lot of skills that do align really well with what we're looking for when we're hiring. Other examples are folks that might be working in early childhood education. We have examples that I know of in other districts where people may have come to Canada, may have been a teacher or had a role similar in another country, but just due to being able to transfer those credentials to a new place, it's very challenging. So our hope is that maybe there's some newcomers in community that might have some of those transferable skills from another country that might look at realigning for something like an education assistant. So the intent is to look at those skills and then in a very intensive 3-week program, look at contextualizing the work of the education system. and helping folks understand that what does that inclusive learning look like? How do we prioritize student support? What is the direction and strategic plan of our board, and how do we bring that to life in the schools? So that's the bridging of skills into the education context. You may have seen some of our promotional material that went out. So we advertised through social media and had a huge response, which Jen will share. We also sent information out through people who may have interviewed with us, but maybe didn't have just quite enough for us to feel that they had those skills to transfer into our system right now. So often when we interview folks, we might think, oh, if they just had a little bit more, or if they just had this. So the EA Bridge is that opportunity to say, here's that just one more thing that we think would make you a fully qualified candidate for us to hire. The commitment, as we said, is 3-week intensive. So we're going to be offering it the 2 weeks leading into spring break and then the first week of spring break. We're so fortunate in terms of looking at developing the sessions. So we've met with different folks on our team to see what are those priority pieces that we would want to make sure that we're including, and then who on our team would be able to provide that support. So within our team, we're able to look at our OT and PT, our district coordinators, counselors, maybe associates and principals doing some teaching in this program. So a lot of folks will come together to do the delivery of this program. And the week of spring break, we're looking at having it run in tandem, again, depending on the numbers, with the EA work that the EA programming that we offer for paid service during spring break. So an example, if folks sign up that want to be paid through our current CUPE, they would take part with the participants in the EA Bridge in, for example, something that our OT and Physio are providing around supporting students and understanding kind of physical needs in school. So those are some ways that we're looking at combining our hopefully future EAs and our current EAs into a week of that programming. And that's one of the pieces that's so important is the in-school experience. So we are building into the program 2 days at elementary, 2 days at secondary, so the participants can be in schools and experiencing, what does it look like, feel like to be in a school setting. I've had experience with this before where sometimes people feel like, oof, secondary's scary, I don't want to go there. And then they get in there and they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is where I want to be forever. Similarly with elementary, it might be like, oof, I don't know, that might be scary. But we really want folks to have experience kind of both at that elementary and secondary setting and have the opportunity to be alongside the fantastic education assistants we do have in our system right now, as well as being able to meet some of the teams that we have in place in school. So when folks come back in, we'll be doing journaling activities around what did they notice, what did they experience, what are they curious about, so that they have the opportunity to go in with a task. Here's the things that you're looking at while you're in school during those kind of job shadow days, and then coming back into us to say, let's debrief, let's talk about it. Where does sometimes philosophy and practicality, is there a tension, or is there something that you're curious about that looked different than what we shared? So we talk about those pieces.
A little bit about the application requirements. So a minimum requirement is grade 12 or equivalent. In particular, we're looking for applicants who have some education in community support worker, early childhood educators, some post-secondary experience. So every applicant is a little bit different, but we do have many that are partially qualified, as Tammy mentioned before, and we're just looking to bridge that gap. Definitely experience with students with disabilities or diverse abilities. First aid and CPR are an asset, not a requirement to get into the program, but certainly an asset for this. And we are, students must commit to the full 3 weeks. So missing a day really isn't an option for this. It's an intensive program. They need to commit to the 3 weeks. And they also need to commit to availability to work in the district after completing this certificate. So we are certainly looking for that. At a minimum, we are asking all applicants to provide a current criminal record check with their application process. And next steps, so as Tammy mentioned, we had a really great response to our marketing. So we had 60 people registered for our info sessions. We held two, one during the day and one in the evening. And we had about around 40 applicants attend the info session. We had lots of great questions, great feedback, so that was excellent. From that session, we sent out registration packages to everybody, all 60 who originally registered, and we put a deadline of February 13th for application packages to be sent. To date, we have already received 10. So yes,
it went out Friday night too. So we have
true.
10, and it went out Friday night.
Yes, that's important. So we, as a team, will review the packages. We will look to start interviewing. We will be interviewing immediately. We won't be waiting until the 13th. So we have let everybody know that it is sort of first come, first serve. We are looking for fully qualified applicants, and then we will move first. We will look to fill this cohort, and in an ideal world, we will create a wait list moving forward.
One of the foundation documents for this work is something that we already created in this district 2 years ago, I think it launched. And that's that co-created document that helps guide understanding roles and responsibilities, and just a supportive document for EAs. So this will be kind of our foundation document for the work that we're doing. And again, it's that opportunity for us to kind of hold up the work that's already been established and share it with some new folks. So I think that's it, but we are happy to take questions.
What a wonderful way to serve our priority learners. Thank you. And for putting talent where it needs to be. I think that's just a vast service to society on so many levels. So thank you for such an initiative and brilliance. My question is for the folks who go through the 3-week program and complete this program, do you envision any necessary supports for as they settle into the program? I mean, they don't quite have this same education as some of their colleagues do. Is there any thought that they need a little more or different support once they're on site?
Because we're not charging for this opportunity, and we're going to do our best to interview folks to come in, it is kind of like a 3-week interview. And so I think there's no guarantee of being offered employment in the district at the end of it. But it is that opportunity to say, if someone has the skills, they're very committed to the learning and the piece of the work that we could then offer or look at interviewing and hiring them for a position in the district. But there's no guarantee that participation is going to lead to employment.
Quick follow-up. So is this more like about developing a pool to draw from?
My dream would be that we have a fantastic cohort and we can hire all of them.
Okay, right.
And then run another cohort and hire them too.
Interviews at the beginning and at the end.
Okay.
Of the screen.
But it goes to what Jen said earlier. Our priority is always making sure that we're putting the best people in our system to support students. So we want to maintain integrity and support at the same time. So I think it is a little bit of a bit of a dance to make sure that we're doing the right thing.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Schmidt.
This is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant, because with the TOCs coming in as EAs and knowing that wasn't enough, but as soon as this was announced, current EAs that have more of a medical background when they were hired, like, this is exactly what we need to feel like we're more around it. And then, of course, to the parent, I know Mr. Sandquist and Jeff and I heard from a parent at that she made this consultation that she was from Alberta and was an EA, but didn't qualify to be here. And I'm like, hold on a sec. And,
She signed up.
Of course she did. I immediately poached that one. But what an opportunity, because I hear it on a more than regular basis of other province people. I mean, it happens with education, and kids can't get educated in the province of British Columbia if they're outside unless they're international, and same thing with transferable job skills. And so I think this is absolutely brilliant that will catch all those folks that want to work here, that haven't worked in British Columbia, but it'll also support those that when we really had to do that big hiring where we brought in medical people and everything else, that now they can round themselves up as well. I think this is absolutely brilliant. And so to everybody who figured this out, thank you, because those kiddos can only benefit from what you're doing. And so just hats off to you for getting this and pulling this off. Now, my only question is how many are in a cohort?
We're saying 16 to 20.
We started out with it'd be amazing if we had 10, but now it'd be amazing if we could do 16 to, yeah, but we're gonna go, we kind of said 10 qualified, we would still do it. So we're just trying to figure out what is the lowest qualified that we could use the resources to do it. So we're still kind of seeing where we land. I wouldn't want to go over 20 in the first cohort because we want to do a really good job. So yeah, 16 to 20 is the dream.
Trustee Lisa and then Trustee Souza.
I think this is a great idea as well, and I get to work along Mr. Rowan on the workforce task force in our region, looking because the whole region is looking for highly skilled people. So being able to build within is really important. I just have one question, and I think about the complexity that some of our students are coming into our classrooms with, right? And so, you know, really ensuring that the people who are in their care, even if it's as a sub for the day, that they are just so well grounded. And so, are there plans for like ongoing, like if you are in the pool, do we have opportunities to continually give them more education and more opportunities for professional development along the way? Or would that just fall under like the CUPE Pro D days and that kind of thing?
We definitely participate in the CUPE Pro D days and opportunities through the SEAC, right?
Yes, yeah. So yes, there's no specific piece around maintaining this cohort's training and experience, so they would be able to participate in anything that we do offer. And the other piece too is we do share a lot of resources that are available for folks to participate in independent. So when people are keen, one of the set of learning materials we use is Affirm, and it's online modules that are free for anyone to access. So we will be sharing a variety of resources that folks could engage with if they wanted to do more or learn more. Yeah, as well. And they will be doing, just so you know, because I know the complexity part of your question, and I didn't share it earlier, but we are building in the career training that we do, the trauma-informed training as one of the days of training for folks. So that does get to kind of that, some of the complexity pieces, as well as having our coordinators specifically work on learning more about learning styles, learning differences, understanding autism, FASD, so all of those pieces will be built into the programming as well.
Trustee Souza.
Thank you. Yeah, similarly, I think this is a fabulous, great program, and thank you for this work. I think I'm really curious to see how this unfolds over time. Amazing uptake as well in a short period of time. That says a lot, I think, as well, to have an uptake like that. But I would love to see, I don't know whether it's a year out, I don't know what the metrics might be in terms of evaluating, but coming back with a report around how it's been going. As well. So it's very innovative, I think, and we really get to kind of get a reporting back.
Yeah, it'd be great to look at the number of people who participate, the number that we hire, and then if they're still with us in a certain amount of time. Like, I think that's like something that shows that we have that. Here's our investment, here's how many we were able to hire, and here's how many are employed in the system in a year or in 2 years. So I think in terms of metrics, I think that might be something we could look at.
Do you have a question?
Well, I just wanted to, it was really great to see you have that international diversity piece, because I think it brings so much to the school district, and a lot of diverse students, so having EAs that come from different backgrounds and different culture. And did you have much interest from those that maybe came from elsewhere?
It's hard to know, because like profile on the Zoom screen, so I don't know, but it may take a while for us to get that messaging out. I know that we've hired some folks into the district that I've interviewed myself, where they have been educators in different parts, different countries, and they're much more skilled, like degrees and masters. And one person we hired as an EA was like a principal in another country, and she went and did an EA program in addition, and she was the one where I'm like, oh, like, you don't need a whole year of an EA program. Like she was a principal and a teacher, and she came here and she can't work in that capacity. So it may take us a little while to get to the recruitment of people like that, but that's the hope.
Well, it's brilliant to see it part of your recruitment strategy. So my hope is that you attract some interesting people who, think differently than the people here, or dress differently and have different, I think it'd be great. So it's good to see that.
Well, thank you very much, and we look forward to hearing updates on how it's going. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alright. Next, business and operations, year-end projections, Mr. Sandquist. You should get some kids to help you with your presentation.
Hard to follow those great school presentations and the HR presentation, and keep it exciting. I'll try. Get to a point where you'll feel better. Oh, there we go. So the main financial item here tonight is the 2025-2026 amended annual budget. And a lot has changed since the board adopted it in May. The enrollment has declined for overall student enrollment. Designations increased. There was the order to do the AEDs and the naloxone. And so one of the things we have to do regularly is test our budget, and we do that through projections. So as of December 31st, we look at our financials to date, and we run out what we think those expenses and those revenues are going to be to the end of the year, to give us confidence that the budget that is going to be presented here shortly is reliable and will meet our expectations. So 90% is wages and benefits, and we run those projections. So there has been some significant shifts since I was last here. A little bit higher performance on the international education program. We're up now about $100,000 over budget. Up on miscellaneous revenue, and that's mainly grants that have come into the district and that are now in there that may be school-based, but have come here to be managed at the floor level. The transportation piece that relates to the international student program and rentals is a bit up. So right now revenues are 191 over projection. We don't have the February and May counts in yet, so those will change it a little bit. All right. On the expenditures, tracking really closely on principals, like $4,000 on 6.8 million is really a good projection. Teacher salaries a little bit under budget by $133,000. There's still some second semester contingency in there too, so there's actually money behind that isn't here. I'm expecting that to go out in second semester. A school might get 50 teachers and staff 49 of them in first and 51 of them in second, and so I can't take the 49 and just run that through. I have to account for the increases that might come in the second part, and increments. There's increments that happen on wages as we go through. Education assistants, we're about $106,000 to the good. Clerical is $465 overspent right now. It looks like USW will probably go down a little bit as more work gets done in maintenance through the winter months, and capital tends to happen in summer. But the number that's really shifted, which is what I want, I'm up here with the pointer, is casual replacements. Right now, we're projecting $527,000 under budget at the end of the year, which is a significant shift. So our December and November have been significantly less expensive than previous years. And that doesn't mean that people haven't been away. We heard Jen and Tammy talk about the need for higher additional EAs because we're not able to replace. It doesn't mean that people are away less. It may mean as well that we're not spending the money because we don't have the people to come in and fill those roles. But right now we're under, as a board, a few $100,000. So when I project that out to the entire year, based on 4 months, it extrapolates to a significant savings. So we're going to track that one really, really closely. It's too early for me to do really employee benefits because a lot of positions may have their CPP fully paid, and I need a full month before I can really look at what that looks like going out and the pensions, et cetera. So the next projection will look more closely at employee benefits. I've done it at a very high level. I still think it's tracking, but I just wanted to put them as flush because I think if we're under budget on wages, then the benefits all should track with that as well. Same with the services and supplies. We just assume everybody's going to spend the money that's been allocated to them. But we are watching utilities, and it has been reasonably warm this winter, so I imagine we will see some savings there by the end of the year. So it's a little optimistic to think that there's going to be 1.1 million at the end of the year, because this is still a bit of a variable on absenteeism that can shift really quickly with a major flu bug or other stresses on the system. But right now we are tracking ahead by 1.1 million. Questions on that? No? Okay. So the budget is good. We've included in your package a guided tour of the amended annual budget, and we do this every year because the budget is black and white and a bunch of numbers and ministry prescribed document or forms, and we like to tell a little bit more of the story of what's changed in the budget for a reader. So it's more than just pictures. I don't know that I need to go through every moment of this, but it has pictures of kids and things that are happening in the schools. It talks about our revenues and some of the changes that we've seen. It talks about what budgets we've held, such as the international student program tuition, and that rentals and leases are really close to the other year. If you look at last year, the board had $800,000 in investment revenue. This year it's $500,000. Well, if you follow the Bank of Canada rates as they adjust, the money that the board has with the Ministry of Finance or in our own bank gets adjusted as well. It goes down. So we're down to about $500,000 on anticipated investment revenue. And then our special purpose funds, 2 new ones this year. One was the National Food Program, and the other one is a professional learning fund. So within our Schedule 3s, you'll see those 2 new programs, but otherwise our special purpose funds remain relatively stable. So those are the funds that other parties have given the board that have restrictions on how you can use them, such as Community Link, Annual Facilities Grant, Costume Enhancement Fund. And then on capital, the big change on capital is Cowichan Secondary was completed, came out of what we call a work in progress. And so now it starts to be amortized into our revenue and into our expenditure stream. Not a lot of change in instruction. We're down about $1 million. That's due of wages and benefits. That's due to decline in enrollment over the previous year, and a decrease due to post-secondary tuition for dual credit programming. That shrunk a little bit. Some of the programs have left the valley. Under district admin, the budget remains pretty close to the prior year. No major changes. Operations and maintenance, again, it's just that amortization on that building coming in, and transportation remains pretty similar, but a significant increase in the software costs for the GPS tracking system and the parent software that tracks where the students are as well. So the budget is balanced, utilizing $4.4 million of 2024-2025 accumulated surplus. That's $2.4 million to balance the budget itself. So you're drawing on $2.4 million, and 2 of that relates to restricted items from the previous year. So I describe those as like having a credit card bill that's paid in the next year. You got to hold the money in your bank because that bill's coming. And so those are things that were commitments that roll over, such as, and the main one being the Indigenous education target, which was under-expended by about $680,000, and the new IEC funds, which was under-expended by, I think, $109,000. So those would be the 2 big things in there, but also school supply allocations that roll over from one year to the other. I'm going to have a surplus slide here a little bit later, but the board is at 3.87% of unrestricted surplus remaining after this budget. Not accounting for any surplus that I've just shown you, that is projected at approximately 1.1 million. So your goal is to have, by policy, between 1% and 3%. So you are above that, which means you're in a reasonably healthy, really very, very healthy position going into the 26-27 budget discussions. You manage your surplus very well. And once it's spent, you can't get it again, typically. And so there's lots of schedules, and the last thing I wanted to show you on that sort of a summary, lots of numbers in the budget, but how many people? So there is a schedule here, which will show you by an FTE basis. In the operating budget, there are 858.51 positions. Special purpose fund, 107.05 positions. And then 4 in the capital fund. The big one being the Classroom Enhancement Fund, so the restored teacher language that currently funds about 72 teachers that wouldn't be here had the language not been restored in the collective agreements in about 2016. And so that is the guided tour of the budget. Kind of tracking through the things the board, as you know, we start with an annual. Enrollments change, adjustments are made. Most of them are out of the control of the board. They're driven by collective agreements because they're staffing ratios. Excuse me. But the board did allocate an additional 12 education assistants. And you see that number here as an increase from the annual budget. And so you remember that we had the numbers increased by about 59 in level 2s, 59 FTE. So that big adjustment was made by the board and is reflected here in the budget. The other major item that you had to deal with during the year was the AEDs and the naloxone. But most of the other variables here are just really out of your control. They're just really related to the ratios that fall within collective agreements. So, down teacher salaries, that's not because salaries have dropped. It's just that you have fewer teachers due to enrollment drop greater than projected. So the original budget was based on an enrollment drop of 136 and the board being in funding protection, and then the enrollment dropped even further to 186 and came out of funding protection because the inclusive education numbers were so high. So all that is here in your package for you to review at your leisure. And then we go through all these schedules and we eventually arrive at the surplus slide that I wanted to show you. So when the year finished in 24-25, so it's June 30th, and the auditors come and they present to the board in September, there was 4.381 of unrestricted surplus remaining. It's now 4.315, so not a lot has really changed on the board's surplus position. You were able to manage that enrollment decline well, while still providing the services for the increase in inclusive education. So the percentage at the end of the year was 3.93 and now it's 3.87. It's not significantly different. So really a relatively stable year from a budgeting perspective. And then that brings us to the budget, the actual budget, which is the document that's kind of tricky to follow unless you understand financial statements really well. It's a consolidated budget, so it includes in all the statements the operating fund, the special purpose fund, and the capital funds. There's detail ahead of this that was on those previous slides that I just quickly went through. Again, not a lot changed other than you added additional education assistance and a couple of other items, and then the enrollment variables. So with that, we are. If you have any questions, we are at a budget of $136,181,256. I remember when it topped 100 million, and it wasn't that long ago. It was probably 5 or 6 years ago. So it's been growing very, very rapidly, mainly due to these inflationary adjustments that were funded by government, particularly related to wages. It's important to note there's no wage increases in this budget for this year. Collective agreements are not settled, so there's no revenues recognized, and there's no expenditures recognized, and we're not permitted to recognize those until, and there won't be an amended budget for that. Hopefully, when we do the 26-27 annual, we'll have some direction around those by that time, but it's also still very possible that we'll budget without increases for this year or next year in the next year's budget too. Hopefully bargaining goes well. So not a big change overall from the amended annual budget of the previous year to this year. Yeah. Questions?
Trustee Souza and then Trustee Croft.
Thank you. I mean, this is probably mostly out of my daily work anyway, but I'm quite worried about the underspend in the IEC. And is there a plan to kind of help address that? I mean, it's not really. I'm just worried that they're not going to be funded to the same degree if the money isn't being spent.
Yeah, it won't be funded at the same degree, I don't believe, after this year. It's already planned to be sort of reduced. The numbers are higher because it's a startup phase.
Yeah.
The IEC monies are for the IEC to operate. And and honestly, they're very generous and every school district is having difficulty with the expenditure of them.
Okay.
Here, we're not geographically, it's basically based on the size of your school district, and we're not that geographically dispersed, where in some school districts, people are flying in and potentially in chartered planes to go to meetings and to be together and have hotel costs, etc. Here, our members are able to travel very relatively short distances and meet in a district-provided facility, and the costs really are related to their honorariums and the meals that take place in the meeting. So it will be very difficult to spend $118,000. The ministry is aware, but the IEC have been working to find ways to spend more of it. They've expanded their honorarium criteria to include non-voting members as well. So they are looking at those ways, but I do think it will be still underspent at the end of this year, quite a bit.
Trustee Croft.
Just regarding the surplus, which is awesome to have. If I recall, the 1 to 3% was a policy that we had to create for the ministry. They dictated those terms, which is fine. Does it matter if we end up with 4%? Do we have to spend it? No? Okay.
Well, and 1 to 3% was the board's determination. The ministry required that you have a surplus policy, not to set what that percentage was, but based on what was sort of the I don't say industry standards, but it was basically across the province. Those were sort of the objectives that boards were looking to have. I don't think when you look at your neighbors on the island that everybody has that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple that are very, very close to zero now.
Yeah.
There's one that is at zero.
Yeah.
And I think there's some challenging times ahead. Most everybody is declining in enrollment.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see the revenues decline because it is based on the number of students. And having a surplus helps manage that decline to a degree. And so some districts that are fully expended that are going to be their struggles are going to be a little bit ahead of this board's.
If I can just say, I suspect that this board has had stellar support from staff in managing budgets so that we do still maintain a surplus, and I just want to state my appreciation for that. Thank you.
Through the chair to the superintendent, I'm wondering if you could maybe share with Trustee Sousa about the $600 and something thousand that IEC did spend on programming and things like that, so that you're not worried about the whole budget still in there, because there was a large expenditure, and I'm wondering if the superintendent can expand on that just to give your mind a rest on that surplus.
Thank you. Yeah.
Sure, that'd be great. Thank you. Through the chair. So earlier in the year, we did approach the IEC. Secretary Treasurer was able to share with them what the surplus amount was. So there's two pots of funding. One is the targeted dollars, and the other one is their operating fund for the IEC, which Secretary Treasurer was referring to. So out of the operating surplus, there was a number of items that were brought forward by staff in terms of recommendations or suggestions. Members of the IEC also brought forward suggested areas, and so examples include the purchase of a canoe, like a tribal journeys canoe. So that is underway in terms of discussions right now. Other things that we're looking at, each nation is looking to host a family night. So IEC is going to be supporting those family nights, and it ties in with graduation requirements, early years. So there's a number of district staff that attend those family nights as well to share information with families that attend, plus a dinner. They're also looking at potential participation by students in travel journeys and supporting that. Secretary Treasurer, what other kind of things have they allocated?
There was like jam sessions, funding. There was a lot of work with elders, I think honorariums. Yeah, so I mean, the Indigenous education target last year was underspent by about $670,000. And sometimes that's just underspent due to the availability of people to hire. Often positions are unfilled. Again, it's that recruitment challenge. But those monies are committed and it can only be spent on Indigenous education. But they now fall under the purview of the IEC after Bill 40. And the IEC really started to begin, I agree it was February, it was about a year ago that it really started, and it's been building its capacity and understanding of the budget. So they dealt with that with a number of requests. They started to come to the table, every nation participated, and then they had a special meeting to review the surplus of 670,000, and I think they dedicated 432 of it.
Yeah.
And a big part of that too was the priority learner programs. They were supporting 2 years of a vice principal to release a principal, to really support the priority learner program. So that was a really big item for the IEC to support. So there is still about 200,000 of unallocated targeted dollars and whatever may be underspent this year.
I can follow up. Yeah, thank you, Secretary Treasurer. So the IEC is aware of the surplus. They've been very engaged in the process, and just following up with what the Secretary Treasurer shared. So right now, all nations are represented at the table, but one, and Staminis, I believe, only has one student who's actually on reserve, attending our school district presently, and there may be other students who would live off reserve, but one student who's on reserve, and so Staminis has said that they are confident in the other nations making the appropriate decisions on their behalf. They do attend our neighboring districts IEC, but just people are stretched as well, right? So yeah. So thank you.
Trustee Lisa.
Just curious, so we were in funding protection. We've gone out of funding protection. What determines if we go back into funding protection?
So funding protection ensures that a board's funding doesn't drop more than 1.5% over the previous year. Okay.
1.5.
And so in a period of declining enrollment, that's what funding protection is designed for. So if you decline quickly and the funding generated declines along with the declining number of students, government's ensuring that your revenues are maintained at 98.5% of the previous year. We know at the start of this school year, last year's budget, there were I think about 20 districts that found themselves for the preliminary grant, 20 of 60, and funding protection because of their enrollment decline. I think what nobody anticipated was the exceptional growth in level 2 designations that would come into the funding. We know that overall, and this is the first year in 11 years that the overall enrollment in the province of BC has declined. But there were 3,260 new level 2 designations, and the funding generated at approximately 24,000, maybe it's 24,400, was so significant that it pulled districts out. But it pulls you out, but you're paying it back before you come out. So we were at about 780,000 in funding protection. And for all the money that got generated by those students, first had to pay back that 780,000. And so net, the board came out ahead by about 300 and I think about 80,000 over the previous year. So
if I may then, do we project going back into funding protection at this time, or is that too difficult to project?
We haven't done our enrollment projections yet for next year. Those are due to the ministry on February 12th or 13th. We started looking at them. I was looking at them on the weekend, trying to get a bit of an idea. I do think elementary is still going to see a pretty significant decline. And so it's possible. I'll be modeling it for the board once I get an idea of the enrollment and using the existing financial model. But it's hard to say.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I was just curious.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a provincial trend. As you know, I've shown you the provincial data where there's only 4 school districts that are expected to be larger in 2030 than they are today. Overall, it's the birth rates are just so low and the in-migration. Much more kids in grade 11 and 12 than there are in kindergarten and grade 1. Yeah.
I have a question about IEC dollars. Could you use those extra funds to help individual kids get up to speed, so to speak, and who are behind catch up? Could you use those funds to do that or no?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, I think they're very specific for the operation of the IEC. That they're at the discretion of the IEC, but they are for their functioning, their administrative dollars. So I'm not sure. I mean, it may be. I think every school district is going to find that their IEC is probably not spending the original allocations, and there may be some adjustments or some flexibility given to IECs to spend them in different ways. But I don't know that that's covered yet. I think policy still requires that it be used for just the operation of those meetings and the secretariat.
Trustee Schmidt?
Provincially, thank you, Mr. Sanquist, for keeping us on track. Because provincially, what I'm hearing in our calls is that boards are in trouble right across the province. We're very fortunate that we held onto our surplus and we didn't consider stuff last year and the year before, and that we kept it in play. And I think your value-based budgeting presentation that you're going to put on at our Vista conference is what the boards on the island need right now, because what I'm hearing from trustees is that they need to figure out how they're actually going to do it. And so I said value-based budgeting is the way you're going to be able to figure it out. So I think that I think that you keeping us true to strat plan, you keeping us true to what our beliefs are and what our priorities are, is what's created us to save the money so that kids of the future aren't going to have to go through, visible classroom cuts, which was what we've seen in this district before. So if we can hang on long enough with a bit of surplus here and a bit of surplus there to last through the tough times, which really, realistically, are probably only 3 or 4 years before we usually see the trend shift, then the work that this board's currently doing right now will be what helps the next board, whomever of us is sitting there, succeed because of how you've taught us how to deal with our money. So, this amended budget's good news, and thank you. I'd be more than happy to move that motion that's in your package.
This one.
Bear with me a sec. Okay, we have a motion on the table. Board of Education Business Committee recommends that the Board of Education, School District 79 Cowichan Valley adopts the 2025-2026 amended annual budget in the amount of $136,181,256. Moved by Trustee Schmidt, seconded by Trustee Souza. All in favor? Motion carried. Draft guiding principles.
Thank you. The budget guiding principles were at advisory last week. They are a rollover of the 25-26 budget guiding principles, and these are the big principles that the board will follow when developing assumptions and when developing priorities for the 26-27 budget. So there were no recommendations that came through the advisory committee, and so we bring them here to see if the Board Education and Business Committee has any new recommendations. Last year what was new was, actually no, we don't have anything new last year. This is pretty much a rollover of last year's, actually, to be exact. It is not new. But really the intent here is that the board complies with the School Act, the board is transparent in their processes, the board balances short-term and long-term priorities, so that's like the use of the surplus. The board maintains an appropriate contingency balance. The budget is developed on the principles of equity. We don't, as a board, you don't distribute funding necessarily on a per pupil basis to every school. In some cases, there are other resources that are added. It's not all, it's based on the environment, so the unique needs of the school. And that intentionally you target funds increase that aimed at increasing the Indigenous student graduation rate. So those are the big things, and you follow your strategic priorities.
Any questions?
Or do you have any other items you'd like to add? That's really why it's here. But then this committee would make a recommendation, and the board would adopt them.
Recommendations? Trustee Schmidt? So moved. Okay, Board of Education recommends that the Board of Education School District 79 adopts the 2026-2027 budget guiding principles, moved by Trustee Schmidt, seconded by Trustee Lise. All in favor? Motion carried. All right. Administration Procedure 560, District Transportation Services.
Are you going to sweat out that cold you're fighting?
The board adopted new, Board adopted new District Transportation Services Policy 19 recently, and we are presenting to the Board Education Business Committee information on changes that have been made to AP 560 to help align to the policy. So the big change was to align to Policy 19 and then to add clarity around the number of registered addresses, ridership levels, safety decisions, and bus stop locations. So there's always been a lot of questions around transportation, and this administrative procedure has a lot more clarity to it than what it did previously. So to look at it quickly, no changes on applications for bus services. There's still an expectation that they arrive by May 31st, and we know that 1,100 of the approximately 3,800 riders do not arrive by May 31st, which creates significant workload and challenges for the Transportation Department. The alignment to policy is here. Priority learners, no changes to catchment. That would require, I think, a fair consultation by the board with the public. French immersion programs and out of catchment schools. And then, of course, we've always had this. Any applications after May 31st will be considered only if there is room on existing routes. And there's always been an ability to accommodate. Multiple address limitations. So this is really to clarify, with a maximum of 2 residential addresses. That gets extremely complex when there's more than that. And I think there's about 100 that have more than 2 addresses and about 1,000 that have 2 addresses. Neighborhood accessibility and safety considerations. It's just a big statement. Really, the decision resides with the transportation manager. Not every neighborhood is accessible. Some are too hilly, we can't turn a bus around, or just simply aren't safe for bus transport. And then bus stop locations and centralization. There's always questions about why the board doesn't have door-to-door service, and it's really not feasible with the number of students and the timelines that we have. So just to make sure that it's understood that there's centralized bus stops. So that's the change. That's been implemented and is here as an information item, as it always is.
Questions, Trustee Souza?
Thank you. This isn't so much a question around the revisions per se, but just sort of taking note of what you were mentioning earlier around what happens, like that many parents or their kids aren't being registered by May 31st, if how much of that has to do with the end of school, like towards the end of school sort of hubbub. I'm just wondering if May 31st is entrenched, if there's a way to sort of help offset or to help stat, because it's hectic for sure. And it's that's a high number. That's like a third, more than a third. Is May 31st set in stone for a particular reason? I don't know. It's not necessarily to this motion or to this piece, but just.
It's by May 31st.
Yeah.
Which means, before the June and before the year-end activities, we hope to have them all in.
Yeah.
It takes a great deal of time to schedule and manage and intertwine all the routes. They are linked within minutes of transfers, and this bus stops and the student gets off this bus and gets on this bus.
Yeah.
And any new change, or even when there's a recommendation to come down a different road, that can take a student off a bus and put them onto a different one. It's so intertwined and so complex and such a web that it takes the entire summer. And then when we arrive in September and there's all the new ones, they all now have to be fit into that web, really. So yeah, it would be really it's communicated every year. It just doesn't happen. And there's always changes over the summer. People move. Like there's going to be those. Like that's not. We know we have to accommodate those.
Trustee Lisa and then Trustee Schmidt.
I can't recall, but is this one of the areas where there's a did you know?
Yeah.
Like, did you know the complexities of, or I can't, so there is some that exist. I'm just thinking throughout the leading up to that, why do we ask so early? Did you know? So they do exist? Okay. I can't remember what they all are, so.
I think we'll put together a frequently asked questions document that maybe really does help with communication and answer a lot of the questions around transportation. I mean, we do have a draft of that that was created when we were making some of the minor adjustments here. I think it's just maybe communication.
Yes, just hearing that, that the staff and the complexity, to be able to do that.
Yeah, it's hard to understand. With a municipal system or a regional system, it follows a preset route with preset times, and you get to whatever those are. We go everywhere in the school district.
Very well at that too.
Yeah, and it's just and those routes change annually, and it takes a long time to develop them. They do use a very sophisticated software program, but it still is a lot of work for the transportation department, and that's what they spend their summer doing, and then it gets undone. To some degree when we get the later ones, registrations, yeah.
What's really fascinating for me is when you see at the end of summer when the buses come out of the bus garage and they're all getting ready to run their routes. So you have drivers that are now learning their new routes, where they're going, how they're getting there, and then you have 1,000 kids whose parents, for whatever reason, didn't register them. I'm really happy that we're no longer doing 4 addresses because that's just taking advantage of a system. But those drivers, we have to take them into account as well as to what they're going through. And so if you ever have a moment, whenever those buses get ready to pull out of the bus garage and they drive their routes, I've taken a picture a few years. I just happen to be at the right place at the right time, and you just see this long lineup of yellow school buses, and then all of a sudden they just disperse and go everywhere. And it's really quite something to see that, it's not just the transportation department that's freaking out because a whole pile of kids showed up. It's a whole bunch of drivers that now have to figure out what they're doing. And God, they don't want to lose a kid because now it's their fault because they've lost a kid because so many people have just, suddenly registered. Like, it's a huge complex. And I get the frustration that comes out of transportation because, boy, oh boy, I think if anybody gets the most complaints, it's transportation. And it's constant. And so I always at the year end, I go to their functions because I know parents can be frustrated. Sadly, transportation takes a hit weekly, if not daily sometimes. And so I always go to their event to say thank you for their patience because they're doing the best job that they can with what they can, and the drivers and the staff there. Just sometimes I think that they like to know that we do support them and that we do understand what they have to go through on a daily basis. So I'm really glad that the AP and the policy are lined up and that we're moving forward.
Very much.
That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Sanquist. Highlights of the advisory committee, January 20th.
I'd just like to state that I think Jason and I share an equal challenge in coming late in the meeting. Anyway, I appreciate the board's interest in sharing the highlights from the advisory committee, and it's nice to be able to chat about. We have some great relationships and great input from our committee. This particular meeting was virtually entirely dedicated to a presentation on the budget process from Jason. And we tried to sort of focus on the budget process, including opportunities for input and insight into the board's deliberation process, to help people prepare to share their input on the upcoming budget process. During check-in, we heard some yet more good news about the schools. Lake Cowichan initiated a PE class. They gathered enough wheelchairs that everybody could participate in phys ed on a wheelchair and really sort of equal the playing field and get a taste of that experience. Some other students went out to Deer Trail College to connect and share time with seniors. And QP also shared a report of some upcoming comprehensive professional development days coming in early August. And parents shared some information on a recent presentation from Nourish, and also the value of learning more about district transportation and busing. So that was that was the news from our recent advisory. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And no other business, motion to adjourn. Trustee Smith, Trustee Suta, all in favor? Thank you very much. We will see you next Tuesday.